Hey guys, my name is Levon Jihanian. I'm a illustrator and painter, and I thought that I would post up a tutorial about how I approach painting clouds. Specifically, I'm going to be painting like a cumulonimbus white fluffy cloud set in uh, the golden hour, like sunset, sunrise, sunset. A lot of people have trouble painting clouds because they're kind of a tricky subject. So I'm going to talk a little bit about my approach and why I approach it the way I do, and how you might want to approach it differently. So I start off with a blue background, and I use rather than using a normal brush, I've been using the mixer brush. Specifically, I've been using Kyle T. Webster's uh, Real Oil Sargent brush, and that's available at Kyle T. Webster's website, which I'll put in a link below. But I just kind of start off all on one layer with a kind of a darker blue sky. I'm painting in the darkest, most vibrant color of the bright side of the light side of the cloud. Now that's the side that where the sun is hitting. And I'm just painting it right onto on one layer, not doing it on a separate layer. And then I'm going in and mixing in some of the sky color back into it to just kind of get a sense of the different the darker the darker color of the cloud, because the cloud is made out of water vapor, and it essentially is white, or like ice colored. So the darkest part of the cloud is still going to should still be lighter um, than the sky. Now there's that's not always the case, but when the sky is kind of dark when the sun is setting, that usually is the case. So I've kind of mixed the orange and the blue together, and I came up with this like muddy gray color, and that's what I've decided is going to be the base color for the dark side of the cloud. And I'm still just kind of trying to figure out the overall shape of it. I kind of made a note up there, showing the direction of the light. So I'm just gonna kind of go back and forth, picking that orange color, and then picking the gray color and going and just kind of rendering it out. Now the beauty of this mixer brush is that it really does kind of emulate the feeling of working with a wet brush. It's hard to explain the algorithm and stuff just by talking about it, but it's something you have to kind of try. And an important part of that is that you paint this all on one layer and not try to create like a frisket. It definitely feels more like a traditional approach to painting, and not so much digital. So I figured I might maybe warm it up on the bottom there. Going from orange to red, but I don't want to get too much of that. I just want to kind of use it in the midtones, or where the light is turning to the dark side. And slowly, I'm gonna get brighter and brighter um, on the center part of where the part of the clouds that is closest to the light source, which in this case is the setting sun. But I'm gonna let the bottom kind of fade out into the sky, or if this was a landscape, I might let it, duck down behind some mountains or the horizon. And now I'm coming in with the sky color and just painting back into that neutral color. A lot of this is from a lot of my approach is based on just kind of staring at clouds a lot, as well as some advice I've gotten from artist friends and some of their observations. But at the moment, I'm kind of painting it as if it's a big cotton ball in the sky, and then there's other properties of clouds that I'm kind of gonna kind of approach a little bit later. It's important to kind of preserve soft edges as well as hard edges, because clouds are kind of like they vary in density. So some parts they're just like misty vapor, and other parts they're just dense gas, packed gas, or water in gas form. So I want to have some hard edges on the inside as well as on the outside edges, and I want some soft edges on the inside as well as on the outside edges. Right now it's kind of uniform on the outside, but I'll go back around and soften it up a little bit later. And I'm slowly kind of building up to the lighter, and I want the top to be lighter than the bottom just to make it more dramatic. So notice I'm not worrying too much at this point about the dark side of the cloud. And usually you don't see as much detail on there, although there are some details you can take a look at. So the way clouds work is light hits that surface, and the puffy part, which you kind of associate with this kind of cloud, and it travels through and it kind of scatters all throughout and into the back area. So it's not like it's, even though I mentioned like a piece of cotton, it's more like, well, it's like a gas. So you're gonna have it scattering all throughout the cloud and make the back of it's gonna glow. So you want to make sure to have some of that light kind of scattering into the back of the cloud, which is what I did. Now here I am, I'm kind of softening up some edges like I talked about earlier. It's still not all the way solid, but we're getting there. Or it's still not there yet. So just chiseling it. And I kind of want some of it to feel, like I said before, wispy. Not all just one big chunk of cloud. Yeah, so like I said, if you really want to learn how to paint clouds, just observe them. Go outside around sunset time and just stare at the clouds. Compare the value or the lightness and darkness of the cloud to the mountains surrounding it, or depending on where you live, the ground and the sky around it, and see how it kind of relates and mixes with the environment around it. So in addition to being a gas, it's also like it's a water. It's just mist of water. I'm flipping it upside down. That's a trick kind of I learned from Noah Bradley. He says he mentioned once that if you flip it upside down, it really reveals whether the cloud looks right or not. What was I saying? Yeah, so it's water. So one of the properties of water is that it reflects. So it's going to reflect the color of the sky around it, which means that there's going to be a lot of blue. If the sky is blue, it's going to reflect the color of the sky. And so that's going to be in there, especially in the shadowy part of the cloud. It's kind of like a extremely porous disco ball with a million different angles, not just round. So it's reflective, it's transparent, it's all these different things all in one, which is great. So I added that extra little wisp to the side because just to kind of give the idea that it's not, again, not one solid shape. So on a second layer, I used a extremely soft brush and I took the lightest color and I painted over the whole thing and I switched it to an overlay layer. And what this kind of does is show the part, it basically I'm simulating the part of the cloud that extends beyond the mass of the cloud. And that's all that, and that's one really important part of clouds, is that they're not solid chunks of gas. They kind of dissolve out into the atmosphere and have a haze around them. That's what kind of makes them so glowy. You want you want the more glowy they are, the more humidity there is around that cloud. So it makes them feel like much more cloudy. And I'm kind of pumping up that shadow side with some of that blue glow kind of light, kind of making its way all the way through. This is like the most intense part of the shadows. I mean, and by intense, I mean that's the thinnest part of the cloud where the light's peeking through all the way. And it's a combination of that and that haze I talked about a little bit a while ago, reflecting the sky around it. Experimenting with some additional glowy layers, but it wasn't quite working out. So it was a little bit too much. So I'm again with a soft, extremely soft and large eraser. I went in and erased some of it. And so there I painted over that top part of the cloud with white, and I changed it to a saturation um, layer, which basically desaturated that part of the cloud because I thought it was getting a little bit too orangey, especially on top there. So it's just that was just mainly an adjustment of the color, not really much of a light and darkness. But that's pretty much the cloud tutorial. I could have gotten a little bit more with this, a little bit longer, and made it a little bit softer here and there. But this is kind of the general idea, and you could build up on those those glowy layers, if you want to really make it more intense. Um, some painters really love to pump that up, and I think it could be a great effect. But usually you don't want the cloud to draw too much attention to itself because usually it's in the background. But this kind of cloud is great. I use it a lot for back the ways to silhouette characters. It's kind of a trick I use, maybe a little bit too much, but it's a nifty little way to to kind of bring drama into a painting. Well, thank you for listening and watching my cloud tutorial. I hope it helped, but I'll repeat again. The important thing is that you go out and observe paintings, both paintings and real life, and get inspiration from there. And you might notice some things that maybe I haven't noticed yet. And definitely try to paint different types of clouds. If you paint the same kind of fluffy cloud, it'll get old pretty fast. But anyway, thank you very much. You could check out more of my work at my website, levonjihanian.com. And if you subscribe to my YouTube channel, you'll get notifications when I upload new videos, which isn't too often, but I like to do it pretty regularly. Thank you.